don't judge me. Yes, I watched Sasaki and Miyano, and you know what? I'm not mad. I actually enjoy it. That's my thoughts on Sasaki and Miyano. I've watched the first 3 episodes of the series. This is my take on it so far. It's a series that's airing in the Winter 22 anime season, so let's jump into it. Sasaki and Miyano opens up kind of showing this point in which these two people kind of met and made a connection, so to speak. Miyano is a very kind of girlish, cute-looking boy that at some point sees somebody being beat up, and he goes to call his friend, but before his friend can get there, Sasaki shows up. And Sasaki says, look, I know you're about to go out there, I'll handle this. And he walks over and he takes care of the situation. And again, this encounter kind of sticks with them. Over the course of the days that kind of follow, Sasaki keeps kind of confronting Miyano because he has some sort of interest in him. And as we find out really quickly, Miyano has other interests that are kind of interesting, that he likes BL. He's a Fudanshi. And for those that don't know what a Fudanshi is, it's a boy that, they're not necessarily into being in a relationship with a boy, but they have a fascination with watching and reading boy love manga. And of course, he's kind of afraid of other people knowing that. He kind of keeps it under wraps. He does have a fascination with it. He says there's a moe aspect to it that he really finds pleasant. And Sasaki picks up on this, and Sasaki asks him to borrow some manga, and over time, Sasaki, gets interested in the manga themselves. He really likes it. There's something about it that catches his attention. But it's not the moe factor, apparently, that Miyano gets out of it. There's something else there. He has a struggle with himself that he looks at Miyano and sees him as very cute, and he has to keep reminding himself but Miyano's a boy. Why do I have an attraction with this person? And again, it seems like there's some sort of connection with him reading this manga and realizing this might be an okay thing, that there's something here. So you see in this kind of struggle with themselves, as they're realizing Miyano sees Sasaki as being really cool. He's a really cool person, and he's almost embarrassed being around him when he's so close. But at the same time, Sasaki sees Miyano as this cute boy. And the struggle that they're having with themselves is, I think, probably the blossoming of some sort of a relationship. And a kind of addition to this whole thing is other people around them. You have this friend of Miyano, Hirano, who is kind of protective of him and doesn't really like the idea of Sasaki getting so close to him. You have a friend of Miyano, Kurosawa, who ended up being the guy that was being beat up by these bullies, and him not really understanding Miyano and his fascination with BL. And additionally, as Miyano is introducing all this manga to Sasaki, there's this kind of explanation as to what BL is. There's a lot of terminologies they're going through and everything. It really feels like my first BL type of story. So that gets me down to my thoughts on Sasaki and Miyano. I think it's a very cute show. I think these characters are very likable. Every single one of them. I think that Sasaki is a really cool guy. He kind of goes out of his way in order to help out Miyano with his situations. Miyano is a very kind of timid character, kind of keeps to himself, but at the same time is willing to kind of jump out there whenever he needs to. But again, he got these little kind of, again, the Fudanshi thing where he's trying to keep that under wraps. This kind of thing that he really likes, this secretive thing that he really likes that nobody else seems to understand. And while others are bickering and claiming it's a terrible thing to like, Sasaki's there to really say, what's the big deal? Who cares if somebody likes BL? What is it to you kind of thing? I think it's cool. So they're likable characters. So far, everybody is a very likable character, and I think a lot of the interactions are a lot of fun as well. I really do like in my perspective of Sasaki and Miyano as being like that one case of a yaoi show that doesn't feel like a typical yaoi show. Typically, when all the yaoi shows that I've watched, and most of them are because I got review copies of shows that I had to watch, are really stories about one person who's very overbearing. And they keep forcing themselves upon the one that, it's the top versus bottom thing. The very forceful one and the very timid one. And they keep pushing themselves upon that other one until they finally accept it. That's what I've always seen. And that was the same experience that I had with Bloom Into You. That was a Yuri series that was the first case of a Yuri story where it didn't feel like all it was about was one person, glomping and kissing onto the other one until they finally go, oh, okay, I'm Yuri now. It's not a forced relationship. It's a mutual relationship. And again, like I said, Bloom Into You was that first case where I loved it. I'm like, this is a Yuri that I can enjoy because it doesn't feel like it's somebody forcing themselves upon somebody else. And I feel like that was Sasaki and Miyano. This is a rare case of a BL where it feels very natural. Their relationship feels very cute and natural. And that's why I like it. Now, the question is it a series I'm going to watch? I don't think so. I think this is a show that, despite the fact that I really enjoy the characters, I enjoy the interactions, and I enjoy the relationship building that it's doing. It's not for me. In the end, even though it is cute and I enjoy the characters, it's also boring. I don't have any sort of vested interest in watching these two get together because I just don't care. And I don't know if that's because they're not likable enough, or if it's just that, yeah, I prefer watching girls. It's not a bad thing against this. It's just that's my personal preference. But I think for everybody, despite the fact even if you're in my case where you don't really like boys, check it out. Give it an episode because I think you might enjoy it. Because like I said, it's a likable BL. It's a show that really does do characters good. And there's a lot of added effect to the show itself. It's being done by Studio Dean, so it's a decent studio. And they do a lot of cool things like added filters and stuff that flow over the characters to kind of express emotion that I do actually really like. Additionally, if you're somebody that's interested in getting to know about BL itself, I do find this, like I said earlier, I joked about it earlier, but I feel like this is like BL for starters, because Miyano is explaining a lot of these archetypes of BL to Sasaki. A lot of these terminologies that would normally kind of be lost to you, like uke and again top bottom, that kind of stuff is being explained here. So for people that are new to this whole genre, it's a cool way of kind of learning about that genre, Fudanshis, and about Fujoshis in general, I guess, technically as well. So yeah, in the end, it looks good. It's got some added effects in there. Again, a lot of it's not for me. Again, technically, I'm not into boys, and I think that's kind of where I get that boredom, is seeing a lot of those doki doki moments where suddenly the characters are starting to blush, and it's got the long shots on their faces as they're blushing about the situation. It just kind of loses me. But at the same time, it's a BL that I actually wasn't off-put by, and I like the very natural feeling relationship building, but we'll see. But if any of that sounds good to you, definitely check it out. Like I said, I suggest it, even in the end, but it's just, again, not for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the series if you're going to be checking it out. Subscribe if you haven't already, share this video if you can, support us on Patreon, or throw our tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.